Lesson 2.3, Solving Equations Using Addition and Subtraction. In this lesson, we are going to go through two objectives. First, objective number 1, use the addition property or the subtraction property to solve equations. And objective number 2, use both properties to solve equations. Before we formalize the rules how to solve equations using subtraction and addition properties, let's take a look at the first two examples, very simple examples, and see if we can just solve these two equations without actually going through the process. When we deal with small numbers, it's pretty easy to guess what the answer is going to be. So I have a number added to 5 to get us 7. Because we are operating with very small values, we can quickly figure out that the number in question is 2. So x equals 2 because 2 plus 5 equals 7. And some of the equations are going to be that easy. You're just going to look at it and just like, I know what the missing number is. So in the second example, we have x minus 2 equals 9. So which number do I need to take 2 away to get a 9? That would be probably 11. X equals 11 because 11 minus 2 gives you 9. So what we have seen here is some of the equations are going to be pretty intuitive, and you kind of already know what the answer is because the numbers are pretty small and easy to guess. But that's not always going to be the case. So before we start solving equations, we're going to formalize the definition of what the solution to an equation is. A solution to an equation is a value of a variable that makes a true statement when substituted into the equation. So when we said that x equals 2 in our first example, that means if I drop 2 instead of x into that same equation, 2 plus 5, I will have a true statement, meaning that 2 plus 5 is a 7, and 7 is equal 7. That's true. And I will do the same with the second one. X minus 2 equals 9. So when x is 11, I can substitute 11 for x. And 11 minus 2 is going to give me 9 equals 9. That produces a true statement. Okay. The process of finding the solution to an equation is called solving equation. So the first thing that we're going to try and learn how to do is to determine whether a number is a solution to an equation. You're going to be given a value and you're going to be dropping that value into the equation. And if you get the true statement, that means that number is a solution to the equation. And if you get a false statement, then that number is not a solution to an equation. So to determine whether a number is a solution to an equation, we're going to do it in 3 steps. Step 1, substitute the number for the variable in the equation. Step 2, simplify the expression on both sides of the equation. Step 3, determine whether the resulting equation is true. If it's true, the number is a solution. If it's true, the number is a solution. If it's not true, the number is not a solution. So let's take a look at equation 8q plus 4 equals 20. And we are given two values of q. The first value of q is q equals 2. The second one is q equals 3. Our goal is to determine, the question is, which one is a solution to the equation. So let's go ahead and use the q equals 2. I'm going to drop it, substitute the 2 for q. So I'm going to have 8 times 2 plus 4 equals 20. All right, so that's my step 1. In step 2, I need to simplify the expressions on both sides of the equation. So on the right side of the equation, everything's already simplified. I have a number. But on the left side of the equation, I have 8 times 2 plus 4. So I'm going to simplify that. So 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 plus 4, so I have 16 plus 4 equals 20. And then 16 plus 4 is the 20 equals 20. So once I simplified it, my step 3 is determine whether the resulting equation is true. So this is my step 3. I look at the left side. I have 20 on the left. I have 20 on the right. So the resulting statement is true. That means Q equals 2 is a solution. So when you're doing your homework, you will be asked those questions. So the answer would be either a solution or not a solution, yes or no. So let's go ahead and look at Q equals 3. We kind of already know that it's not going to be a solution, but let's go through the process and see what it looks like when the number does not work out to be a solution. So we start with step number 1. We substitute 3 for Q. So we have 8 times 3 plus 4 equals 20. 8 times 3 is, so now we're going to simplify it. 8 times 3 is 24 plus 4. Right, keep rewriting it down, keep copying everything down until you're ready to make a decision. So what I have is 28 equals 20. Once I simplify both sides, this is my step number 3, where I get to make the decision. What I do know is that 28 is not equal to 20, so that means it is a false statement. Okay. And then I can write my answer as Q equals 3 is not a solution. All right, so now that we know how to verify if a number is a solution of the equation, we're going to look into how to solve the equation. So the first one, the two properties of equality that we're looking at is addition property of equality and subtraction property of equality. So in the addition property of equality, apologize for that. In the addition property of equality, it says for any numbers a, b, and c, if a equals b, then adding the same number to a and a b would result in the same true statement, right? So in simple words, we can add the same number to both sides of the equation, and keep the equation true. All right. So, and then as you can probably guess, the subtraction property of equality says that if you subtract the same number from both sides of the equation, you will not change the balance of the equation. The equation will stay true. Okay, so we can formalize that as saying we can subtract the same number from both sides of the equation. have an equation and keep the equation true. Okay. So those are the two rules. To solve an equation using the addition property of equality, we will use the addition property of equality to isolate the variable. Step number 2, we will simplify the expression on both sides of the equation. And step number 3, we will check the solution. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our first example. So we have r minus 12 equals 13. So at this point, in order for me to solve the equation, that means that I need to have the variable by itself on the left side of the equation. So my equation has the left side, everything that's left to the equal sign, and the right side, everything that is to the right of the equal sign. So the answer is going to be r equals to, right? That's how I know I have equation solved. Here, because I am already subtracting the 12, I need to undo that operation. So if I add 12 to both sides, plus 12 and plus 12, so negative 12 plus 12 will give me a 0. So I will have r plus 0 equals 13 plus 12 is 25. And then I can drop the 0 and say r equals 25. Okay. So again, let's summarize what we did here. Because we were taking 12 from the r, I use the addition property of equality and add 12 to both sides to cancel out the negative 12 on the left side of the equation. So I can isolate the variable r, meaning that r is going to be, the variable is going to be the only thing that is on the left side of the equation. And then, because the addition property of equality says that whatever you do on the left side of the equation, you have to do the same on the other side of the equation. As long as you do it to both sides, you're keeping the equation true. All right, so let's go ahead and do the same for, do the next one. I have 4 plus q equals 7. I'm going to visually separate left side and right side. And I'm going to focus on the left side because that's where the variable is, and I need to isolate that variable. So right now I'm adding 4. I am going to do the opposite. So here I am going to use the subtraction property of equality, and I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. So remember, same number from both sides of the equation to keep the balance, to keep the equation true. Well, 4 minus 4 is going to give me a 0, so all I have is q left on the left. And then 7 minus 4 is going to give me a 3, so the answer is q equals 3. The very last step that we need to do is, step number 3 is to check our solution. To check the solution, you take your 3 that we calculated to be the solution to the equation. We plug it back into the equation, so it's going to do we're going to do 4 plus 3 equals 7. So I have 7 on the left side, I have 7 on the right side. That is a true statement, and I have checked my solution. Moving on to part C. Here things are getting a little bit more complicated, meaning that we have like terms. So here we have 10x minus 9x minus 11 equals 15. Before I can apply either addition or subtraction property of equality, I need to combine like terms. Notice that you have 10x and you have 9x. When when I subtract 9x from 10x, I have 1x, 1x minus 11 equals 15. All right, my x is on the left, so I'm focusing on the left side, and I'm going to add 11 to both sides because I'm already subtracting 11. I need to make that negative 11 a 0 by doing the opposite. So if I'm subtracting the number, I need to add that same number. So plus 11 plus 11. So I will have 1x negative 11 plus 11 is going to give me a 0. And then 15 plus 11 is going to give me 26. And I can drop 1 and have x equals 26. Okay. In order for me to check, I would go back and do 10 times 26 minus 9 times 26 minus 11 equals 15. Sometimes it's longer to check the solution than it is to solve the equation. And then if that equation turns out to be true, which is going to be true, 15 equals 15,